So we're in your biology and we're in section 11.2 of chapter 11, and we're going to talk about the excretory system. Well, the excretory system is the removal of waste from our body. It's called excretion. The excretory system also is in our skin. We learned that, and also in our lungs, getting rid of the carbon dioxide in our lungs, and of course in our large intestine, getting rid of waste products too. But the main removal of waste from the body happens in our urinary system, and that's what we're going to be talking about, urinary system. There are certain poisons, wastes are called poisons in our body, and one of these is urea, which is uric acid, and then of course we have salt and a lot of nitrogenous wastes too that are excreted in our urine. So how does this happen? This is pretty amazing. I love these pictures they have here too. So we'll be seeing where the kidneys are. The urinary system is the major part of the excretory system, and the kidneys are the major organ. And you see the kidneys have nephrons, and these nephrons, millions of them in fact, in the kidney. So the kidney first they look like these little bean shape here, and here are the ureters that come down. Let's go up so we can see. So we have the kidneys, and the ureters come down, and this is your bladder, urinary bladder, and this is urethra. So it looks like a simple system, but it's actually pretty complex, because when we see here, the structure of the kidney looks pretty complex, but it's pretty amazing how God put this all together. So these basically nephrons that are in the kidney is where the blood is filtered and purified and liquid is absorbed. So they're microscopic blood vessels that go to them, very microscopic in the blood vessel and the renal tubes. We'll be talking about these renal tubes that go through them. The nephrons, this is the structure of the kidney here. So let's look here. Here is the renal artery coming into the kidneys, and here's the vein coming out. So the blood is going through our kidneys, and it goes in quite a few times. We'll find out how many times, 38 times the blood passes through our kidneys. You know, we only have 5 to 6 liters of blood, and our blood is filtered at 48 gallons, you know, so over the supply of, so it has to go through 38 times a day and siphons through our blood, right? So here we have the connecting duct of the renal pelvis right here. Like here, this is the duct. This is the flesh of the kidney. Let's go up a little bit so we can see. It's the medulla and the cortex here, and the ureter, I should say. I was going to say urethra, but that's clear at the bottom down here. But the ureter comes through here, and the ureter is going to go to the bladder. So these are these kind of bean shape. This is an overview of the urinary system there. So let's go on here so we can look even more in depth at the system. So great pictures. All right, let's get in here closer so you can see. Okay, so here we have we're going to be talking about how kidneys filter the blood, but we're going to talk about the nephrons. The nephrons are in the glomerulus. I always say that wrong. Glomerulus is the cluster of capillaries that sieve through, and these are holes that allow water and molecules to escape. And they're covered by here, they're covered by what's called the Bowman's capsule there. And so the blood enters the glomerulus, here we go, glomerulus through the blood vessel. So we see the blood coming here, and this is the glomerulus, right? And this is the Bowman's capsule that's around the glomerulus, say that right. The Bowman capsule surrounds it and collects water that escapes from the blood there. So it has a major role too in all of this. So we have this glomerulus, the cluster of capillaries, and it's has these holes, and water and molecules escape. You can look right here. Here we go. Here's the blood vessels here, and this is where the water escapes in and out from the blood vessels, right here in the midst of the glomerulus, you know, and then going up to the renal tube. So it goes from there to the renal tube, as we see here, and then here, this is a bigger picture of where the renal tube is. So here's this little glomerulus here, here's the renal tube coming down. And so as you see with the renal tube, it's surrounded by capillaries. It's long and thin, a very long and thin tube. And it also has filters glucose and hormones and such too in the renal tube. So here we go. Going down here, we can see this renal tube. This, as for the nephron here, and you see this tube, this is tiny. Look, this is your kidney, and this is where this is here. This looks like, oh man, it's this big system here. No, it's from this little part of our kidney here. This whole part coming in here with the nephron and the tube in it. And then how tiny these little glomerulus with the Bowman's capsules are. So let's see, going on to this. Renal tube also, there's return and reabsorption, and it reabsorbs 99% of the water is reabsorbed. And then the urine drains out and is pumped to the bladder. So, but you see, as the urine's drained out, still 99% of the water goes back with the blood. So we call this filtration and conservation. So like I said before, it filters like quite a bit, 48 gallons or so a day, which is quite a bit, and 45-gallon escapes, you know. So here we have this taking our 480 gallons, I said. Well, anyway, it takes up the salt and maintains the blood at like 50% water. It also produces renin. And what's renin? Renin is an enzyme that acts on the circulatory system to increase the blood pressure. So if the kidneys are failing and the blood pressures are falling too low, they won't work. So this renin says, okay, we're having a problem here. We need to increase the blood pressure so the blood is going through and the pressure is more, so that we can keep going with this renal system, with the excretory system. So, and of course, reabsorption. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, we're going to talk about this. We're talking about renin right here. It's the enzyme renin, which acts in the circulatory system to increase blood pressure. And then we have another called the ADH, or antidiuretic hormone. So we have this hormone here. And what does ADH do? Well, ADH it is called antidiuretic hormone, and it's actually activated by the hypothalamus in our brain. And so this it allows the blood, if the blood gets too thick, to allow more water to be absorbed there. So if the blood's too thick, so that the kidney produces less urine. So antidiuretic means basically to produce less urine, right? And it's pretty important because I need to have that all in homeostasis, right? So, and it's directed by the hypothalamus. So going on, so here we go. Let's look at these pictures again, just to review here. So here you have two kidneys in your body, and they look like this. And the blood's filtered in and filtered through this and goes into these little parts here. And this whole part here is the nephron tube and the blood tube coming in, the blood vessels coming in here and being filtered. All these blood vessels coming in and being filtered, coming in these long tubes, going through the tubes, and you come over to this area, tiny area here, which is the Bowman's capsule and the glomerulus here. And this is where we have this blood coming in and out with the water, and the renal tube coming, and it goes to the bladder. And then from the bladder, it goes to the urethra. So that's how we produce urine. And get rid of our urine, I should say. So let's go on to the last part here. This is kind of a quick section, huh? But it's very, very intense section. You can do a lot of study in this. Some people just study the kidneys. So let's go on to the next section. This next section talks about, you see this guy here, and he is in kidney failure. And so his kidneys are not working, so he has to go on dialysis. And dialysis is basically an artificial kidney, a process that separates the molecules using a membrane, a certain artificial membrane, so that they can still stay alive. Instead of going through like the whole glomerulus and everything, they go through a membrane. And the blood goes through this machine, and there's these tiny holes that it's the sieve like the glomerulus, but it's very time consuming, and of course they have to be on it quite often there. So nowadays they have, well, anyway, we have, let's go on. I'm not going to go into dialysis. I can describe a lot of that because, you know, I kind of been involved with those kind of things, but we're going to, basically the other thing is transplants. So a lot of times people are waiting for kidney transplants, and a lot of people can give like one of your kidneys to help someone, or to help someone in your family, because they have to be a close match before you can have a kidney transplant, or else there'll be immune problem and the kidney will be rejected. So people that have transplants have to be on immune suppressant drugs for the rest of their life, and they have to match. So, and going on, we're talking about healthy kidneys, and this little area talks about healthy kidneys. So you can read that, but basically there's things that keep your kidneys healthy. To drink plenty of water, clean water, and good water, you know, to drink this water and a lot of water, that really helps. So it prevents you from being dehydration, because getting too dehydrated is not good for your kidneys. Also, not drinking alcohol. Alcohol depresses ADH, so it dehydrates your anti-diuretic hormone, dehydrates you, and so you produce too much urine putting out and become extremely dehydrated, which is not good for your body, especially alcoholics, you know, can have kidney problems. Caffeine also dehydrates. So if you have a problem with urine infections and stuff, then don't drink caffeine. It can dehydrate you. Tobacco dehydrates. Nicotine does. It produces too much ADH, and that increases your blood pressure. So that you have much water in your blood. So tobacco is not a good thing. Certain diseases that are described here, and you kind of can look through here, the diseases that are described are, and we go down to kidney stones. Kidney stones happen a lot, you know, especially among men, you know, and therefore get too much calcium deposit, and they're like pea-sides. But as they go through your urine tract, it's very painful. And so these kidney stones get stuck, and sometimes you have to go in and have them either surgically removed, or sometimes they use these sound waves to break them up. And just sometimes they just watch it for them to pass. It really, really painful when you pass a kidney stone. And to watch your diet, because certain things in your diet, especially way too much calcium, can affect kidney stones. Gout. So gout, when it's describing gout up here, gout too is a problem. And what is it? It's too much uric acid that accumulates in your joints. And so it's a backup of this uric acid, and it caused usually in your feet, in your toes. In a person's toes, your feet hurt drastically. My mom and dad used to get the gout, and you have to take medication for that. And the next thing is infection, a UTI. UTI is a urinary tract infection. Usually people get bladder infections first, and the bladder gets infected, and if you wait too long, if you don't get antibiotics, it can go on and go up to your rest of your urinary tract and to your kidneys. These are really a problem. If infections get to the kidneys, you're going to have a lot of problems. They may migrate up the ureter when the kidney, because the kidney filters all the blood, and all these problems. You're going to have problems when you have infections in your kidney. So infection are a problem. So to get antibiotics right away, not infections. Urinary tract infections don't just clear up. Believe me, they can develop into worse problems. And you'll see your blood in your urine sometimes, and it will clog holes in the glomerulus of your kidney, and that can produce later on kidney failure. So the other thing besides infection in here, they put down diabetes as a high blood sugar, and it produces ketones. Also, people that are diabetic have problems with their kidneys a lot, because basically diabetes, you know, when you have high blood sugar, that dramatically affects your kidney. A lot of times diabetic die because of kidney failure. So those are those things. We always have to end with the diseases, don't we? So it gets kind of, but what amazing process God has given us for our excretory system and our kidneys, which kidneys are the main part. So we talked about dialysis here, so I'm not going to get into that, but that's it then. And we're going to go on to the next thing, would be the endocrine system.